So you have to be punctual. Maybe a few minutes later, maybe generally accepted in Germany, but not too late. Yeah. If you, for example, encounter something that leads you to be late for your dinner or for your invitation, you have to um, inform the host beforehand, so in advance that you will be late. Yeah. And also not don't attend early. Yeah. Don't attend early. That's not considered as good in Germany. Yeah. Because also the host and maybe also his family members are busy about preparation for the invitation and so on, and they didn't expect you to come earlier. Yeah. And that's why you have to take care about that. So punctual is so important in Germany. Um, Presenting a gift by invitation to your home, for example, to a home. So if you're an invitee, you have to keep in mind that that you have to buy or have to get a small gift. Yeah, as a symbol of respect, as a symbol of appreciation for this invitation. And this gift can be, for example, flowers, can be box of chocolates, yeah, for example, or pastries, or can be also sparkling water. And in this case, you have to ask beforehand, okay, do you prefer, for example, the specific flavor for sparkling water and so on, or not? Or if there is a specific flavor that you don't prefer, and that's why in this case you have to ask beforehand in case of you will get a drink or will get a sparkling water and so on. So these are the three main gifts that you have to get um, by or when invited to a meal, when invited to a dinner, for example, flowers or chocolates or pastries, and finally um, sparkling water or a drink as you wish. So you can also offer to bring something, yeah, to contribute into the invitation to contribute to the preparation of the dinner, yeah. Um, in this case, the hosts will insist that you only have to bring yourself and that's it. But in this case, you, however, have to bring something to contribute to, yeah. If not, you have to be not to be empty-handed. I mean, you have to get a sample gift that will be proper, and that's it for the home invitation. So let's take a look on some phrases that you will use by accepting an invitation and declining an invitation. So here we have the formal invitations, how to invite someone, and then we'll take a look about how to accept an invitation, what points to take care about when accepting an invitation, and how to decline an invitation also. We'll go into some details about that later on. So how to invite someone formally. Yeah, these are three different forms. You can't use either of them. Darf ich Sie zum Essen einladen? Ja, may I invite you to eat? Or ich möchte Sie gerne zum Abendessen einladen. I would like to invite you to dinner. Ja, or ich lade Sie zum Essen ein. I invite you to eat. Yeah, so these are three different forms for formal invitations, how to invite someone for dinner or for having a meal. So informal invitations. We have four different phrases or invitation forms that we can use. First, wollen wir heute Abend essen gehen? Wollen wir heute Abend essen gehen? Do we want to go to eat tonight? Möchtest du heute Abend mit mir essen gehen? Möchtest du heute Abend mit mir essen gehen? Would you like to go to eat with me tonight? Kommst du zum Essen vorbei? Are you coming over for a meal? Ich lade dich zum Essen ein. I invite you to eat. Note here that you use these informal invitations, for example, among your close friends, yeah. For example, and the formal you can use with, for example, your work colleague that you um, got to know him recently and you didn't know him good. You don't have, I mean, you shouldn't have good terms with him yet, or with her yet, but you try to make some good relationship with him, some good um, friendship, to build up a friendship with him. And that's why in this case you use these forms, or you can use also the formal invitations, for example, in case of inviting your boss. Yeah. You can use also these formal invitations. Informal invitations is often used in case of close friends. Yeah. So by accepting an invitation, you have to keep in mind that you, as I mentioned before, that you will contribute to this invitation, to this meal. Yeah, you offer to contribute. And in this case, it's expected also that the host refuses you to contribute in this meal, and he will say to you, just bring yourself and come, that's it. But however, if you can contribute to something, that it will be preferable. Yeah. And also don't forget to get a small gift. Yeah, getting a small gift is a sign of respecting and gratitude to the host and to his invitation or to her invitation. So these are 2 points that you have to take in consideration, take into account when accepting an invitation. Yeah. And let's have a look about some phrases that we use by accepting an invitation, a running invitation in Germany. That's the formal one. Yeah. Ich nehme Ihre Einladung gerne an. I gladly accept your invitation. Or more politely, or standard, and more politely, I have mentioned previously that for being polite, you have to use some polite phrases as, for example, danke, vielen Dank. If you want to thank somebody for something, yeah, danke, vielen Dank, Dankeschön, yeah, besten Dank, and so on. So here you express your gratitude for the invitation. Danke für die Einladung. Einladung, Invitation. Ich komme gerne. Thanks for the invitation. I would love to come. Yeah. Informal. Ja, gerne. That's it. So short. Among friends, for example. Yeah. Ja, gerne. Or enthusiastic. Ja. Ja, das klingt gut. Ich freue mich drauf. So you express here with this expression that you are glad and you're interested in joining this invitation, joining this meal and accepting this meal. And here by saying ich freue mich drauf, that means that I'm looking forward to it, that you assure. And you make promise that you will join this invitation and you accepted the invitation. Yeah. Yes, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. These are four different forms of how to express accepting a dining invitation in Germany. Yeah. This formal one you can use, for example, if you are the boss or and your employee invites you to a dinner or to a meal, then you can use this form, or this form also is preferably Danke für die Einladung. Yeah, it's more preferably to express your gratitude first, or informal among the friends or enthusiastic. You can use also this this form. I mean, it's preferable for the informal. I mean, among friends, you can use this phrase, not in the formal context. Not in the formal context, for example, with your boss or with your employee. Yeah. And these are the 2 points that you contribute by accepting an invitation, that you contribute to this invitation and to bring a small gift. You contribute to the invitation if you, for example, are a neighbor or close friend. Yeah. But it's not common in Germany that you contribute to the invitation if it's in a business context or it's in the formal setting. Yeah. You don't have to either offer to contribute or to contribute to bring something to contribute in the meal. So next, politely declining an invitation. By declining an invitation, you have to follow some steps to adhere to politeness by declining an invitation. First, you have to first express your gratitude for the invitation. Dankeschön. We'll have a look later on some phrases, some examples, how to use them to express gratitude and to use complemented example for politely declining an invitation. So here you decline an invitation first by expressing your gratitude for the invitation. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you so much for your invitation. Dankeschön für die Einladung. And then you have to state your inability to attend. Yeah, that you can't attend, you can't join this invitation. And also, it's considered as polite that you also state a brief general reason about not to attending, not to join this invitation. Yeah, but by explaining or by stating this reason, it has to be brief reason, a general reason, and um, not over explaining your inability to attend the invitation. Yeah, because it can be considered otherwise as um, awful, and you don't have to over explain your inability to attend the invitation. Yeah, just a brief reason. And then lastly, the last step in the polite way to decline invitation is to offer or suggest an alternative. Yeah. For example, later on we can make a one-to-one invitation. I'm looking forward to make a one-on-one invitation with you or have a dinner with you later on next week, for example, or stay at a specific time. Yeah, it depends. And we'll have a look later on some phrases to be used in this case. Some important tips by declining an invitation is that you have to be sincere by declining an invitation. I mean here that you have to be your declining, your refusal has to be genuine, honest, rather than to be a flimsy excuse. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, that the Germans are direct. Yeah, the Germans are direct and also respect your directness. So you have to be also direct by declining an invitation. Don't feel embarrassed or don't feel awkward by declining an invitation. You don't have to feel that. Germans won't feel offended if you decline the proper way their invitation. So, first, you have to be sincere, yeah, genuine, and honest about your declining or about declining the invitation. And it's more preferable or it's appreciated from the Germans rather than um, excusing in a flimsy way. And the second point you have to aware about is that you have to be prompt. That means that if you decline an invitation, that you have to inform the host in advance as soon as possible in order for the host to have some time to make um, alternative arrangements. Yeah. So don't make a refusal or don't decline an invitation just before the invitation doesn't just before the meal, for example, by a day or at the same day. It's not good. Yeah. And also not to over explain your excuse, not to over explain your reason. Just a brief reason and a general reason, and that's it. Otherwise, it can be considered by the Germans as awkward, and also you don't have to. You don't have to over-explain your reason for declining an invitation. So these are the three tips that you have to adhere to, that you have to stick to by declining an invitation. And you'll find these all details in my own PPT, and you'll find my own PPT in the portal by tomorrow or by after tomorrow, maximum. So let's have a look at some phrases that we use in this case, how to decline an invitation. So these are the four tips that we have talked about a few seconds ago. Express gratitude, how to express your gratitude. Vielen Dank für die Einladung. Thank you very much for the invitation. Danke, dass du an mich gedacht hast. Thanks for thinking of me. Yeah. And you don't have to stick to the pronouns, the do pronoun or the informal pronoun here. You can also use the formal pronoun Sie. Yeah, you can say, for example, danke, dass Sie an mich gedacht haben. Yeah, you can use both forms. It depends on the relationship to the invitee or to the person that declined your invitation. State your inability to attend. As an example, ich kann dieses Mal leider nicht dabei sein. Unfortunately, I can't be there this time. Ich habe leider schon etwas vor. Unfortunately, I already have plans. And then providing a brief or general reason. Ich habe einen anderen Termin. I have another appointment. Ich bin dieses Mal zu müde. I am too tired this time. Ich habe meiner Familie versprochen, zu Hause zu bleiben. I promised my family I would stay at home. Or any other reason. You can state also. It depends what reason prevents you from joining this invitation. So you can state also here instead that these are all only examples. Yeah. At last, suggest an alternative. Ich würde mich freuen, wenn wir uns bald zu zweit treffen könnten. This phrase you can use frequently, yeah, in most all cases. Ich würde mich freuen, wenn wir uns bald zu zweit treffen könnten. I would be happy if we could meet one-on-one soon. Ich würde dich gerne ein anderes Mal sehen. And that's phrase also you can use frequently and in all cases. Ich würde dich gerne ein anderes Mal sehen. Or you can also replace this informal pronoun with the formal one. Ich würde Sie gerne ein anderes Mal sehen. Ja, either or. I would love to see you another time. Vielleicht ein anderes Mal. That's the third example. I wouldn't prefer this expression in suggesting an alternative. Yeah, but you can use it also because it shows, maybe it shows not being interested about joining a meal or joining this person in a meal or something like that. Perhaps another time. Yeah, I would prefer these two above examples or above phrases. And this one you can use it among your friends. Yeah, it will be generally accepted among your friends, but not in all cases. Yeah, in informal cases maybe, but not in formal one. And that's an example. So, vielen Dank für die Einladung. That's an example, including all the steps that you have to stick to when by declining an invitation. Vielen Dank für die Einladung. Das ist sehr nett von dir. It started with expressing the gratitude. Das ist sehr nett von dir. That's very kind of you. Leider habe ich schon etwas vor und kann nicht kommen. Did he stated that he can't attend the invitation? So explicitly, kann nicht kommen. I can't come. And also, in the same sentence, he stated the reason. Ich habe etwas vor. I have other plans. I already have plans. Ja? Ich hoffe, ihr habt einen schönen Abend und wir können uns bald treffen. Ja? Hier, wir können uns bald treffen. That's an alternative suggestion. That they can see each other soon. Yeah, and that's the last step. Und ich hoffe, ihr habt einen schönen Abend. I hope you have a nice evening. Yeah, that's also polite. A polite phrase or polite use of declining an invitation. So, let's go back. So we have talked in details about how to politely decline an invitation, what steps we have to adhere to by declining an invitation, and examples of how to decline an invitation, and also a whole example, a real life example, how to politely decline an invitation. There's some cultural differences in dining etiquette. For example, here you have to make a comparison between, in particular, the German culture in dining etiquette and the Indian culture in dining etiquette. Yeah, but in general, between the Western and the Asian, for example, for the Western use it the utensils as I've mentioned before, the fork in the right hand, the knife in the right hand and the fork in the left hand, and maybe also the spoon in the right hand. Yeah, but the Asian or the Asians maybe sometimes, or some Asians use the um, the chopsticks, yeah, and the spoon also. That's also difference in to this point of dinner etiquette or using utensils. Another difference, major difference, is also the table settings. Yeah, in the Western, as I've mentioned, that the head, the table first, the table is rectangular table, but in Asia, the table is a round table. And regarding the seating arrangements, as I've mentioned also before, that the host or the most senior at home sits at the head of the table. But in Asia, or also in some cultures in Asia, the most senior one sits facing the door. Yeah. And the third point in the cultural differences between the Western world and the Asian world regarding the dining etiquette is how to finish the food. And I've mentioned that in Germany, you have to leave some food, some little food in your plate, because leaving your plate completely empty is a sign maybe of wasteful. It can be considered the Germans that's wasteful, and that's why you have to leave some little food in your plate, not so much food, because in this case it can be a sign or a gesture that you didn't like the food or there is a problem with the food or something like that. So to be polite and to show respect, you have to leave um, some little food and not too much food in the plate. That's in the Western world and in particular in Germany. But in Asia, um, completing all your food in your plate, leaving your plate empty is a sign that you um, like the food and that the food is so delicious and tasty, and that's why you completed your plate. Yeah, or you leaves your plate empty. So it's also a main difference, and I have added also some other differences in my own PPT. You can have also um, a look about that. Yeah, these are some other points concerning differences between the Western and the Asian worlds to this point of etiquette at the table. Um, so some gesture meanings. We went through some gestures through our description, through our illustration of the dining etiquette in Germany. Yeah, for example, how to use the fork and the knife, and for example, that you don't have to hide your hands under the table. You have to show your hands. Your hands have to be visible. Yeah, these are some gestures, and also how to toast and make an eye contact while toasting each other at the table. Yeah, waiting, for example, for the host to say guten Appetit or to say have a good meal, have a nice meal, and so on. We went through some gestures through our illustrations, our module today, and you'll find some of them also in the PPT. And taboos, the main taboos, you don't have to also start eating um, before the host say guten Appetit. Um, you don't have to wave with the utensils, with the knife and the fork while talking during the meal. Yeah. So you have to be aware about that. And also, you don't have to speak with a full mouth. Yeah, while you are chewing, for example, so you have to finish chewing and then you can participate in the conversations or you can say something, but don't say something with a full mouth, and also don't you have also to thank um, the host or the home cook for this invitation or for this meal, for the delicious food, and so on. We have also mentioned a taboo not to cut the salad with the knife, with the salad knife. You use the salad knife for folding, for example, the lettuce, with also using the fork. And there are some many other taboos or don'ts that you have to stick to um, by dining at table or by joining a meal at a table in Germany. And I have also prepared some of this in the PPT. So next, dress codes. It differs from formal settings to casual settings or casual um, situations or casual context. So, for example, when it comes to formal settings, so for the men, suits, suits are proper, and the tie also. The tie isn't mandatory, but however, it adds to the formality. So the tie is also um, very proper to the formal dress code. And if not, then the men can have on, for example, sports jackets and a dress pants. Yeah, just it. And for the woman, a dressy top and a skirt or pants. Yeah, that's the formal dress. Um, if they don't have, for example, an elegant dress or something like that, then they can have um, a dressy top and pants or skirts instead. Informal, you don't have to be too casual in informal contexts. Yeah. For example, for the men, you can have a collared shirt or a polo shirt with trousers or well-fitted jeans. Yeah. And for the women, they have also they can have blouse and also well-fitted jeans. Yeah, that's acceptable. Or you can have also instead of the blouse, you can they can have a top. Yeah. So, but don't use or don't wear these yeah, torn jeans, for example, not to be too casual. Don't wear these loudly colors or these bright, these flashy colors. Don't have clothes on with so large um, uh, brand badges and so on. That's not common and that's not considered good in Germany. Also, you have to um, be aware about that. And I've also summarized and also gathered some information about that, about informal and formal dressing codes at the dining invitation in the PBT. So, giving gifts or gift giving etiquette at meals. As I've mentioned, it's so important to present or to get a gift. yeah, as a sign of respect, as a sign of gratitude for the host, for this invitation. Yeah, it's a small gift, and it can be flowers, it can be um, chocolates, box of chocolates, for example, pastries. It can be sparkling water or any other drink, or it can be also a local item. Yeah, any item. It's only a symbol, so you don't have to get an expensive gift or something like that. You don't have to pay too much for the gift. It's simple. Um, Symbol or indication that um, you are thankful for this invitation and you are glad to join this invitation, and also your politeness, yeah, your appreciation for the effort and also for holding this invitation from the host. So by giving gifts, you have to give the gift as soon as possible as you arrive to the invitation. And you have to worry about also packaging or presenting the gift in a good way. So package the gift in a good looking way. It's so important also for the Germans. So um, next, about the conversation, I have mentioned that the Germans tend to have a quiet dinner or quiet meal, but not too quiet, not silent meal, but to have to raise topics, some topics, and as a guest, you don't have to talk too much. Yeah, the host leads the conversation and leads the topics, and you can share or you can join these topics and have some talks and have some of your own opinions, for example, or you can mention some situations that you encountered, yeah, that comply with this topic, for example, that's appropriate to this topic and so on. But you have to keep in mind that you don't have to talk too much, you don't have to talk more than the host. The host leads the conversation. Yeah. Avoid talking about politics in general, and we have mentioned this point before also. You have to be aware of politics, you have to be aware of religion, and also personal issues. Yeah, you have to be aware of personal issues. So, next, how to be a good guest. Offer to help with small tasks, clearing plates, setting the table, and this can be done in case of, for example, inviting neighbors or inviting close friends. In this case, the guests can offer contributing in some of these small tasks. Yeah, because it's not it's expected not to be the first time to accept the invitation in this case, and also they know each other well, and that's why you can, as an invitee, you can contribute to these small tasks. Make compliment to the host cooking. Yeah, before standing up or by finishing your meal, you have to compliment the meal, and you can say, for example, das Essen war fantastisch. The food was fantastic. Or as I've mentioned before, and you will find it also in the PBT, das war sehr lecker, das Essen schmeckt sehr gut, schmeckt wunderbar, and so on. Don't leave too early. Stay at least 2 to 3 hours. And that applies to dinner invitation. Yeah. That applies, for example, for celebrations or parties or barbecue parties and so on. But that doesn't apply to, for example, breakfast or for having cake and coffee. Yeah. So you can stay at least 2 or 3 hours by dinner, for example, by celebrations, parties, or barbecues. Say goodbye to everyone before leaving, absolutely. Thank the host personally. Ja, vielen Dank für den schönen Abend. Ja, vielen Dank, for example, für die Einladung. Vielen Dank für das wunderbares Essen. Ja, but you'll find also some of these phrases in the PPT. Um, a thank you message the next day is appreciated. You can, for example, once more thank the host or leave a message, for example, to WhatsApp or message to the phone that you have had really a nice evening or a nice dinner with them, and it will be, yeah, more appreciated from the Germans if you do that. So it's so important also. Um, that's it for today and for the module for today for dining etiquette in Germany. You have to only make comparison between the German etiquette in a table and the Indian etiquette at table. That's so important to make this comparison and to be more familiar with the German etiquette. You have to stick to the points that I've mentioned in the PPT, in my own PPT, and see to each point of them what's the case in India and so on. So thank you very much for today and for joining me and for watching this video, and see you next time. Bye bye.